Good afternoon, learners. My name is Atri Sinha, Academic Officer English, National Institute of Open Schooling. Today we will read two lessons. One is 9 gold medals and the second one is Indian weavers, that are lesson number 9 and lesson number 12 respectively. First we will do the lesson number 9, that is 9 gold medals. The poem 9 Gold Medals is an adaptation of a story by David Roth, which is included in our secondary English course as English course 202 as lesson number 9, as I have already said. Before starting the lesson, let us have a look at the learning outcomes that are expected from this lesson. So first of all, after completing this lesson, the learners will learn how to comprehend an English poem and how to enrich their vocabulary along with some grammatical and writing portions. So let's start the poem 9 Gold Medals by David Roth, which is our lesson number 9. So as I have already said, the learning outcomes of this lesson: first, state the central idea of the poem. Then the learner will be able to state how the players display their sensitivity towards one another. Then they will also pick words relevant to certain ideas presented in the poem. Then they will be also able to sum up the incidents described in the poem. And then they pick lines from the poem where a sound has been repeated. And then they will also be able to pick words from the poem that often go together in pairs and give the meaning of the metaphors used in the poem. They will also be able to use words that can be used as verbs and nouns in sentences of their own. And they will also be able to explain the significance of the title of the poem and enjoy reading poetry and say how it is different from any other prose. So let's first learn about something about the poet David Roth. David Roth is an American rock vocalist, journalist, podcast host, and editor. He was also writing and editing content for sports trading cards and sports blog. After that, he also, along with other writers, formed Defected Media, a subscription-based sports and culture blog and media company in 2020. Now let's learn about something about the poem, some trivia about the poem. So the poem 9 Gold Medals was originally written as a song, and it was appeared in his 2014 album named as Will You Come Home. This poem is based on a story about a 1976 race held by the Special Olympics. Now what is Special Olympics? It is an international sports organization for athletes with intellectual disabilities. Notice this phrase, intellectual disabilities. Special Olympics, which is organized for athletes with intellectual disabilities. And this organization encourages human compassion and cooperation, so the poem is. And the poem also explores human kindness and empathy. So in Spokane, Washington in 1976, while competing in the 100-meter dash, a young runner accidentally stumbles and falls to the ground. A couple of other athletes did turn back to help the fallen one, crossing the finishing line together. But it was just a couple of athletes who turned back and not everyone in the event. The other participants of that event continued to run their race. Then they walk across the finishing line, arm in arm, in a powerful display of kindness and empathy that, the speaker declares, epitomizes the true spirit of the game. So remember that Special Olympics is organized for the intellectual disabilities, but here we can see that how the empathy, the kindness, the cooperation go hand in hand with all these participants. So that's the story behind the poem 9 Gold Medals by David Roth. Now let's look into the text, the poem. First stanza, the athletes had come from all over the country to run for the gold, for the silver and bronze. Many weeks and months of training all coming down to these games. The first stanza says that the athletes had come from all over the country. So athletes traveled from different parts of the nation to be here to participate in this sports. To run for the gold, for the silver and bronze. So they are competing to win medals. The top prize is the gold medal for the first rank holder, followed by the silver medals for second place and the bronze medal for third place. Many weeks and months of training. So these athletes have spent a lot of time and preparing for this event, all coming down to these games. So all their hard work and training, all are focused on performing well in this specific games. Everything they have done up to this point is to do their best in this competition. Just like we prepare for exam, we prepare for our term and exam and try to give our best on the exam paper. Just like that, these participants have also spent several months and weeks and perhaps years in practice and in preparing for this particular event, this special game, this special sports. So the writer, the poet, tries to convey that they have done up to this point is to do their best in this competition. So in this stanza of this poem, we have seen that athletes have come from many countries all over the world to take part in this Special Olympics, and they were there to compete for medals, gold, silver and bronze, and they have gone through strenuous training for months to participate in the events with high hopes and dreams of winning medals. So let's move on to the stanza 2 of this poem. The spectators gathered around the old field to cheer on all the young women and men. The final event of the day was approaching. Excitement grew high to begin. So in the second stanza, we have seen that the spectators gathered around the old field. People came together and stood or sat around an old sports field, just like a stadium. We have seen a few days ago the T20 World Cup and other sports, that there is a stadium where all the spectators, all the audience sat or stood to cheer up their favorite team or favorite participant. Just like that, the second line says that to cheer on all the young women and men. So the audience is there, the people are there to support and encourage the young female and male athletes who are competing. The final event of the day was approaching. So the last competition or race of the day is about to start. And what was that? Excitement grew high to begin. So the anticipation and excitement among the spectators and all the participants are increasing as the final event is about to commence. So always we can see that the most interesting, most engaging item or any performance would be enlisted at the last of the whole event. So just like that, a special event is at the last event, is scheduled as the last event, and all the participants, not only the participants, also the spectators, also the audience is very much eager, very much excited to eyewitness the event. So which event is about to start. So in stanza 2, we can see that a large audience was present at the ground, at the sports ground, to cheer the participants of different events, and they cheered and enjoyed throughout the day. Now it was time for the final event of the day, the race, and the people were eagerly waiting for the event to begin. The contestant put in a lot of preparation and practice, and everyone hopes to win a medal. And the spectators are as excited as the contestant, and they cheered and encouraged the contestants. And these two stanzas help to create the setting of the poem. So from stanza 1 and stanza 2, we can visualize a stage of the performance, that there is a big sports ground which is held for the Special Olympics, where participants were from different parts of the world. So the audience, and both the participant and the audience, are very much excited, and especially for the last event, which is a race. Now we will move on to the third stanza. The blocks were all lined up for those who would use them. The 100-year dash and the race to be run. These were 9 resolved athletes in back of the starting line, poised for the sound of the gun. So, in the third stanza, we can see that the starting blocks which runners push off from at the start of a race were set up and ready for the athletes. So David Roth has written that the blocks were all lined up for those who would use them. So starting blocks were all prepared there. The 100-year dash and the race to be run. The event taking place is the 100-year dash, a short and fast spirit race. So, what was the most exciting event of all the sports, among all the sports? That is a 100-year dash, 100-year race. So now the last event is the 100-year dash. And now all the blocks are ready for that. These were 9 resolved athletes in back of the starting line. So there are 9 athletes, 9 participants, determined and ready. All they are very much ready, very much determined to win the race. And they all are standing behind the starting line, preparing to race. Poised for the sound of the gun. So that athletes are in their starting position, waiting for the starting gun to fire. If you have seen any Olympics, you can see that before the race, all the participants are lining up in the starting line, and there is one person who is holding a gun. And as soon as the person is shot the gun, all the participants starts racing. Just like that, all the athletes are taking their position, has already taken their position at the starting line, and they all are waiting for the gun to fire. Now this gunfire is the signals of the beginning of the race. So in the stanza 3, we have seen that of all the events in Olympics, the 100-meter race is the most prestigious, most popular. So that is scheduled at the end. And the athlete who wins it is remembered as the fastest man in the world. So for Special Olympics mentioned in the poem, this is the final event, hence the most prestigious, and the 100-year race is about to begin. The athletes take position at the starting blocks. There were 9 participants, all determined to win the competition and lined up behind the starting point. They were ready to start, waiting for the sound of the gun. Now let's move on to the next stanza. The signal was given, the pistol exploded, pistol means gun, and so did the runners, all charging ahead. But the smallest among them, he stumbled and staggered and fell to the asphalt instead. You can see on the image on the slide that one of the participant is on the ground. So this picture is the gist of the whole stanza, you may say. So I am reading the stanza, I am repeating the stanza once again. The signal was given, the pistol exploded, and so did the runners, all charging ahead. But the smallest among them, he stumbled and staggered and fell to the asphalt instead. So in this stanza, the signal was given, the pistol exploded. So the starting signal, which is a gunshot, a pistol shot, was fired to begin the race. And so did the runners, all charging ahead. As soon as they heard the starting signal, all the runners began running quickly. But the smallest among them, he stumbled and staggered. So the smallest runner in the race lost his balance, tripped, and struggled to keep running. Now and fell to the asphalt instead. So instead of continuing the race, the smallest runner fell down onto the hard surface of the track. So in stanza 4, what we have seen? We have seen that the pistol, the gun, exploded, signaling the start of the race. All the runners began to start along their respective tracks immediately after the firing, but suddenly there occurred an unexpected thing. And what was that? The shortest athlete among them stumbled and staggered and fell on his knees to the ground, the asphalt track. Now what happened we will see in the next stanza. He gave a cry in frustration and anguish. His dreams and his efforts all dashed in the dirt. But as sure as I am standing here telling this story, the same goes for what next occurred. So, what happened next? The smallest runner, feeling very upset and hurt, cried out loudly. He gave a cry in frustration and anguish. He becomes very much frustrated and anguished. Why? We have seen in the first stanza that all the participants has been preparing themselves for long, for weeks, for months. Now, when they are there, they are present there to perform, to give their best. At that time, he fall off. Imagine you have prepared for long time, for a long period that for the exam, for the term and exam. I hope that will not be occurred with any of us, but maybe there is a time when in the exam hall we are suddenly blackout. We couldn't remember a single line, what we have read, what we have prepared for long. We will definitely be very much frustrated and very much angered to our own selves, what we have done. Similarly, this smallest participant have also been prepared for long, but now he has fallen down as soon as the race starts. So he gave a loud cry. He is very much frustrated, very much anguish. The poet David Roth has already given the reason of his frustration. What is that? In the second line of this stanza, his dreams and his efforts all dashed in the dirt. So he failed, like all his hard work and hopes were ruined because he failed. So that's the reason why he was so much frustrated. But as sure as I am standing here telling this story, so the narrator is emphasizing that what he is about to tell is absolutely true. So the narrator, the poet, the speaker, David Roth, is emphasizing, he is ensuring that what happened next, I will tell you, and you may rely on me that whatever I will tell you, all are very much true. Maybe that whatever is happened next, maybe that is something seems unreal, but that's the real thing have happened. The same goes for what next occurred. So the narrator is also certain about what happened next, hinting that something significant or surprising followed. So in stanza 5, we have seen that nothing could be more frustrating for a differently abled athlete after such tough training. The moment he fell, he knew all his dreams, hopes, and efforts were dusted. His pain and disappointment made him give a cry, a loud cry. And he has trained hard, but doesn't get the opportunity, the chance to show his talent, to showcase, to exhibit his talent. if I prepared for a long time to give my best in the term and exam, but I couldn't write so much, whatever I know, I couldn't express myself, I will be the same frustration just like this participant. All his dreams of winning the medal are broken and destroyed, just like the examiner. But it didn't end here. There occurred something really strange following his fall. Now, what happened? Which is described there in the 6th stanza. Let's read that stanza. The 8 other runners, remember that there were 9 runners. Now, David Roth has said that the 8 other runners pulled up on their heels, the ones who had trained for so long to compete. One by one, they all turned around and went back to help him and brought the young boy to his feet. So what we can see in this particular stanza, the 8 other runners pulled up on their heels. The other 8 runners in the race stopped running suddenly. The ones who had trained for so long to compete. These are the runners who had also spent a lot of time and efforts preparing for the race. One by one, they all turned around and went back to help him. Each of these runners decided to turn around and go back to assist the fallen runner. Now, together, they helped the young boy stand up again and brought the young boy to his feet. So in stanza 6, we can see that strangely enough, the remaining 8 other athletes who were ahead of him stopped in their tracks when they saw him, the 9th one, fall. Though they had trained hard for so long to compete with one another and win medals, the fall of one athlete changed their minds. Instead of continuing their own race, they came to help of their fellow contestant. They returned one by one and helped the fallen one stand up on his feet. All the athletes had dreamt of winning the medal. However, they readily forgot their dream and came forward to help the boy to his feet. So that's surprising thing happened next. That was the incident that David Roth was indicating at. What happened in the next stanza? Then all the 9 runners joined hands and continued the 100-year dash, now reduced to a walk. And a banner above that said Special Olympics could not have been more on the mark. We can see on the picture on the slide that is already in your SLM that all the 9 participants are at the end of the race, at the string which marked the end of the race. So all the 9 runners joined their hands and continued. All the 9 runners held hands of each one and started moving forward together. The 100-year dash now reduced to a walk. A 100-year dash must be something with race, must not be something with walk. But instead of running, they all walked the rest of the race. They all walking together. And a banner above the said Special Olympics. There was a banner overhead that read Special Olympics that indicates the event they were participating in. If you can remember that at the starting of the lesson, we have emphasized on the term that Special Olympics is being organized for those participants who were intellectually special. Intellectually special. But in this Special Olympics, we can see how they are special. Not at all intellectually. They are very much cooperative, very much special in this way. Could not have been more on the mark. So the spirit of the Special Olympics, which emphasizing participation, support and camaraderie, was perfectly demonstrated by this act of kindness and unity. The adjective of the phrase Special Olympics, which is special, has changed their meaning through this incident. So in this stanza 1, we can see that all the 9 contestants joined hands and walked to the finishing line together. The 100-meter race was reduced to a walk. But still, it was a special for the great display of human compassion, cooperation, and sportsman spirit. There were now 9 winners instead of 1. In other race, we have only 1 winners, but in this special race, we have 9 winners, not only 1. And each was given a gold medal. That is why the poem is titled as 9 Gold Medals. All the contestants displayed empathy, turning the Special Olympics into a really special one. And it could not have been more special in any way. The audience was so moved by the exemplary behavior of the contestants that it stood up and clapped. So that's how the race ended. With 9 gold medals, they came to the finish line holding hands still, and a standing ovation and 9 beaming faces said more than these words ever will. We will explain this stanza, but before that, let's have a short break.
जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों करने,
जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने, हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने, अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने।
धन साधन समय की सीमा से विद्यालय जो मुक्त हो,
कभी पढ़े हम कहीं पढ़े वे विषय के लोच से युक्त हो, और जागे अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने।
शिक्षा परीक्षा का अवसर एक बार ही क्यों मिलता, फिर
शिक्षा परीक्षा का अवसर एक बार ही क्यों मिलता फिर दुनिया में किसके केंद्र बात कोई मन
Welcome back, learners. We were reading 9 gold medals by David Roth, and we were on that final stanza of the poem. That's how the race ended. With 9 gold medals, they came to the finish line holding hands still, and a standing ovation and 9 beaming faces said more than these words ever will. We can see on the slide that how gleefully, how joyously they were expressing their joys. So that's why in the last stanza, David Roth is saying that all the 9 runners finished the race together and were each awarded a gold medal. That's how the race ended with 9 gold medals. They came to the finish line holding hands still. So they reached at the end of the race while still holding hands. And a standing ovation and 9 beaming faces. The spectators stood up and applauded them, and the runners had big happy smiles on their face. Said more than these words ever will. The powerful emotions and significance of this moment were greater than any words could describe. So in this stanza 8, we can see that thus the race ended with 9 athletes holding their hands right to the finishing mark. They won 9 gold medals, one for each, very deservingly. The 9 sportsmen stood in smiling faces under the banner that declared it as a Special Olympics, and those smiling faces touched the heart of everyone present there. It delivered something special, a great feeling and a great lesson. This mere poem is not enough to express, and it is beyond words. So empathy is the capacity to understand another person's experience from his point of view, which is very much there in this poem. Simply stated, empathy is the ability to put oneself in another's shoes. That is exactly what the 8 contestants had done. One look at the fallen contestant had forced them to think, what would I have felt if I had fallen? And they knew exactly what they had to do. By awarding gold medals to all the 9 contestants, the authorities, the organizers of the Special Olympics, honored their display of empathy, helpful nature, and human values. So, what are the key themes of this poem, The 9 Gold Medals by David Roth? First, sportsmanship and kindness. Number 2, unity and camaraderie. Number 3, overcoming adversity. And number 4, the spirit of the Special Olympics. These are the key themes of the poem 9 Gold Medals by David Roth. So we will discuss all these key themes one by one. First, sportsmanship and kindness. Sportsmanship involved fair play, respect for others, and graciousness in both victory and defeat. And kindness is about showing compassion and support for others, even in competitive situation. In this poem, when the smallest runner falls, the other 8 athletes could have just continued the race and focused on their own goals. Instead, They stopped, turned around, and helped him up. This act of kindness goes beyond competition, and it shows that they valued the well-being of their fellow competitor over their own success. So, in broader context, true sportsmanship is not just about winning, but about the way we interact with others. It teaches us that being a good sport is more important than being the fastest or the strongest. Now move on to the next theme, that is unity and camaraderie. Unity refers to working together as a team, and while camaraderie is the spirit of friendship and mutual support among a group. In this poem, after helping the fallen runner, all 9 athletes joined hands and worked together to the finish line. And this act symbolizes their unity and the sense of camaraderie they have shared. They showed that their bond was stronger than the competition, than winning the competition. So, in broader context, unity and camaraderie teach us that working together and supporting each other can create a stronger, more positive environment. And it's about building connections and standing by each other, not just in times of victory, but also in times of struggle. So, the next theme is overcoming adversity, which involves facing and dealing with challenges or setbacks in a positive way. In this poem, we can see that despite the setback of the fall, the athletes didn't give up. They chose to continue the race in a different way. They demonstrate that perseverance and resilience are the keys to overcoming obstacles. So we can learn from this poem that it is a valuable life lesson. It shows us that challenges are part of life, but our attitude and actions in response to these challenges define our success in any other tone. And the final theme is the spirit of the Special Olympics. The Special Olympics focus on inclusion, mutual respect, and celebrating all athletes regardless of their abilities. The spirit of the Special Olympics is about valuing participation and personal growth over mere competition. In the poem captures this spirit by showing that the race was not just about winning, but about helping each other and celebrating the effort and determination of every athlete. So, the Special Olympics remind us that sports are not just about competition, but about personal achievement and community support. So we can also, all these are the key themes of this poem, 9 Gold Medals. We have discussed the themes. Now we will move on to the appreciation that are there in this poem, 9 Gold Medals by David Roth. First, we can notice that the poem is written with the help of alliteration, which is a literary device. Now, what is alliteration? Alliteration is the repetition of the consonant sound. Why a poet used alliteration in their writing? To bring about a musical effect. If we have alliteration in our writing, in our text, we can see that there is a musical effect with that alliteration. For example, in this poem, we have this line that is there on the slide, that, but the smallest among them, he stumbled and staggered. I have already highlighted that S sound in that line, the smallest among them, the S in the word smallest. Then he stumbled and staggered. The S sound of the word stumbled and staggered. So the S sound is very much repetitive in this line. So we can say that David Roth has used alliteration of the S sound in this particular line. Similarly, there is another line which says that his dreams and his efforts all dashed in the dirt. So you can see that the repetition of the D sound in this line through the word dreams, through the word dash, and through the word dart. So dreams and his efforts all dashed in the dirt. So there is a repetition of the D sound. So we can see that David Roth has employed the alliteration of the D sound in this poem. Now we will move on to the rhyming scheme of this poem. If you notice the whole poem, you can see that there is no specific rhyme scheme. What is rhyme scheme? We have discussed this in our previous classes as well. Rhyming scheme is when the last sound of each line of each verse is if sound similarly. Then we can say that there is these are the rhyming words. If you remember the poem Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, how I wonder what you are. So star and are, these are these are rhyming words because the pronunciation of the word star and are, they are similar. And both the words are at the end of their individual sentence. If I repeat the sentence, twinkle twinkle little star, how I wonder what you are. So star and are, both are very much similar in sound. So these are rhyming words. If we can see, if we can observe that these rhyming words are there in the poem, we can find a specific rhyme scheme in that particular poem, just like this Twinkle Twinkle Little Star poem. But in this poem, 9 Gold Medals by David Roth, we couldn't find any rhyming words in this poem, which are there in the last of the sentence, last of the verse, last of the lines. So we can say that there is no specific rhyme schemes in this poem. This poem is written in free verse. So this is another kind of appreciation. You can go through the poem once again with this, finding that rhyming scheme, just like you have on the slides that the athletes have come from all over the country. This is the first stanza. I am taking this as an example. So the athletes had come from all over the country to run for the gold, for the silver and bronze. Many weeks and months of training all coming down to these games. So if you notice the last words of these verses, that is country, bronze, training, games. Neither of them are rhyming, right? Not the country is rhyming with bronze, nor with the training, nor with the games, and vice versa. So similarly, if we can see the last stanza, that's how the race ended. With 9 gold medals, they came to the finish line holding hands still, and a standing ovation and 9 beaming faces said more than these words ever will. So what were the last words of the verses? Medals, steel, faces, wheel. You may say that steel and wheel both have double L in the last, at the last segment of the pronunciation, last syllable. But is the pronunciation similar? Steel and wheel are not pronouncing in the same way. So we can see that there is no rhyming scheme in this particular poem, 9 Gold Medals by David Roth. Now let's move on to the poem at a glance. So in this poem by David Roth, titled as 9 Gold Medals, we can see that in order to enhance the quality of our life, we need to develop our empathy. Just the 8 other participants have done what they have done. They can well able to finish their race by their own, but they didn't do that. So in this way they have enhanced their quality of life. They become successful in other terms. So we can say that in order to enhance the quality of our life, we need to develop empathy. It helps us to appreciate what the other person is going through and to offer emotional support at the time of need. Just like whenever the ninth runner has fallen down, all the 8 other participants come to him. They appreciate, they can empathize with the pain that ninth participant is suffering from. So they help him. So through this lesson, we can learn that helping each other, appreciating each other's pain, other's suffering, and providing emotional support while at the time of need is the good lesson, is the ultimatum. And finally, not only does empathy help us to resolve conflicts, but it also enables us to find solution to problems. So while empathizing with the ninth participant, they not only resolve their conflicts, they have some conflicts because they are competing with each other. So somehow there is a conflicts. But by displaying their empathy, by helping each other, they resolve their conflicts, and it also enables them to find a solution of the problem that has come all of a sudden. So that's all at a glance of this poem, 9 Gold Medals by David Roth. We will stop here and we'll read the lesson Indian Weavers by Sarojini Naidu in our next class. Till then, goodbye and thank you.
Ah